every second of your life is precious. I always remember every morning that my son Rehan, he never woke up one morning. And I'm awake and alive again today, breathing. My name is Hasnain Syed, and a lot of my close friends and family know me as Koz, which sounds bizarre because it's nowhere near Hasnain. But the reason for that was my grandmother kept my name Kozween. And so from Kozween, I end up having a nickname called Koz. Running to me is a spiritual journey. It's a time when I feel that even though I am physically running, but mentally far from it. If anything, I feel it brings me closer to many people, from my children to the Almighty, to remembering those who have passed away, to appreciating health, to thinking about why I am running for the bigger cause, to help sick children, to give back, and most importantly, to feel that I am connected with God. When I did my first London Marathon, I never thought I would continue, and now here I am preparing for my fourth. And I suppose it's like many things, that when you have this urge, this sense of achievement, and a place where you feel at one or in the zone, or you're at maximum output, you always tend to go back for more. And for me, that's what it was. It was the fact that I have my health. It gives me another opportunity to contribute more money towards a good cause, and also for me to push myself in many aspects of my life. My full name is Hasnain Syed. I was born in 1973. I'm 40 years old. My father migrated to this country in the 60s and lived pretty much East London all his life.
I came in 1964, so almost 50 years. I was here alone. I got married in 1971, and 73, Hasnain Syed, he born.
Being the eldest of four, and also realizing that I was actually the eldest child of all of my dad's brothers' kids. So at a very young age, I felt there was this huge sense of responsibility. And even though it wasn't burdened upon me, I just felt that I was put in that position. And it was only after a number of years that I found out that my mother had lost some children.
I lost my son. First son, he born in Sargodha, and he died after maybe 10-15 minutes.
And it was funny because I never really heard it from my parents. I actually found out from one of my aunties. And I remember very clearly that I went in another room and I sat there and I tried to understand how my parents dealt with that at the time.
That's the first tragedy I have, but I still have a faith.
It was a little bit hard for me because I was like, I wish I could have been there for them. But it also made me understand why I was such a spoiled brat when I was born. My early education, I, like many people, didn't like studying. But my father said, son, you have to be either a doctor or a cricketer. And I failed miserably in both. These are the streets that I used to walk to my school, and I was a very quiet young individual, never really used to have any confidence in socializing. I often got bullied, and I would come home and run into my room and start crying because obviously didn't have the courage to tell my parents. It would be more just a threat than anything, but it would worry me because I just didn't have any confidence or any fight back. And they would say things like, "You wait after school," and that was it. I suppose as I got older, the first thing I started to learn about was courage. I tried very hard to get into the local football team, and I eventually got in, but our school had the worst record of the whole borough. Our best defeat was 10-1, our worst defeat was 22-0. Clearly you can see that means a lot to me because I haven't forgotten. I don't know where the time's gone, it flies by, but I met some really good people, and some of the friends I still keep in touch with 30, 40 years down the line. I was a very shy, insecure and overweight young child. We would go to physical education and we would go for a cross country, and I would come last. So before I even got back on the school bus, I was psychologically damaged because it was like, oh my gosh, we're waiting for that kid who is holding us back and he's still having a shower because he's still running his last lap. That was very hard for me because nobody wants to be last. And I remember that when I started secondary school, I knew that I had to do something different because I was fed up being the last in everything. I was fed up being the kid who got bullied. I was fed up with the fact that I don't seem to have any joy in my life. And I started to do a lot of exercise. I felt that I wasn't really interacting with a lot of friends at school, and I wasn't involved in a lot of the sports. Never really got chosen to play football, so I thought something's not right here. And so I thought I need to try and at least lose some weight because I was very heavy. And I suppose what it showed was that I became a lot more confident and started playing a lot more football with the guys. But one thing I believe I've been blessed in my family is we were brought up to be good human beings, which is the basis of our religion, humanity. So if the elders walking down the road, you would have to go across the road and greet them and salam them and ask how they are. That made them feel special. And also, as often I got told, that when you want to see how parents have raised their children, they look at the children's actions to then praise the parents, not the parents themselves.
One of the most key moments that I remember him being so strong as a personality in my life was probably around the region of 15, 16, sat me down and just said to me, "You're becoming a man, and just remember what is important," and that was faith. And I'll never forget that. He said, "The world will throw many things at you, trials, tribulations, excitements, but just remember that no matter what position you're in, that you have to stay strong to your faith."
I'm very lucky. I got lovely children. I'm very happy.
My father, who came in the 60s, what I noticed was that there was a lot of community cohesion in that time, and as I was growing up, I noticed that it was starting to fade away. And one of the most important things for me was to show, especially the non-Muslims, that we can integrate and we can communicate and we can live together. And the best way to do that is to lead by example. And I suppose for me it was then to do some charity work and show especially the non-Muslims as well as the Muslims that by your little bit of trying to do a good charity, a good cause, that it can show people that we are no different to them.
My name's Waqar Ahmed. I live here in Walthamstow. I've lived here all my life. I'm married with 3 children. I work in a bank in the city at the moment. Only recently have I got into running and doing crazy stuff like the marathon, which I blame completely on Hasnain. It's funny actually, Hasnain and I both went to the same sixth form college, but we didn't really know each other very well. It was only after we started playing football, we used to play every Thursdays, that we got to know each other a bit better. Of course he lives in the same area, not too far, we share common interests. We've got a good connection. Sometimes you connect with somebody and you feel comfortable opening up to somebody because you trust them, and I think me and Hasnain have that connection.
Waqar, he's been very supportive in both aspects, from being there for me and also then being brave enough to get involved in running. And I think he's gone a little bit insane now because he's off to Berlin now to do the Berlin Marathon. So he's not only supported me, he's actually taking it to another level. So it's very reassuring, and I'm just grateful that there are brothers out there like that who are supporting me. Somebody had said to me that, Hasnain, you seem to have good relationship management skills and it would be really good to get into banking. And I wasn't sure. I got into HSBC and I moved 3-4 times within the big organization, and I must say that the bank was very good to me in different times of my life, the good times and the bad times. And I was so committed to the bank, they started to make a bit of a joke that HSBC didn't stand for Hong Kong Shanghai Banking Corporation, but it stood for Hasnain Syed before Christ. And that if they cut me in half, hexagons would pop out. I was that dedicated to the bank. And then from there I went to private banking, and I got to associate director level, and I was making a lot of money. And for me, I always say that it's all about relationships, because if people like the way you are, then they don't really care if you're the best at your job. What they do care about is, can I see that person's face every day sitting next to me? And I was blessed to have that ability to attract people in my character or personality.
My name is Noshin Fatima Syed, and I've been married with Hasnain Syed, and we've been married 13 years.
Noshin, I got Noshin Fatima Syed. I got married to her in 2001. I wanted Noshin to really become her own person. I was always about pushing, driving, learning, understanding, and simplicity was very attractive. Yoga, the gym, doing a few courses, having a part-time job, getting to meet people. Slowly, Noshin started to build confidence. And she became pregnant.
When my brother told me, he actually told the family, addressed the family by saying, Allah has blessed us with the opportunity of having a child. Naturally, it's the most amazing feeling that a brother can feel.
I would often speak to the baby. I was very, very elated, very excited. All I could think was that I'm going to become a dad. I'm going to become a dad. And it was like scoring the winning goal in the World Cup final, like celebration on another level. And this was before Rehan had even come into this world.
The only wishes we could have had was baby being healthy and my sister-in-law being healthy. What else could you ask for?
And a lot of my friends were like, yeah, man, like, yeah, I'm a dad. Yeah, it's brilliant. And we were blessed with a beautiful son, Rehan Abbas Syed. And that was a very busy but joyous occasion, and many people were coming round, and being the first child in our family, I was playing football, and we got to the final, and Rehan came to the final, and I was made captain for that game. And I remember when the teams took their team photo, Rehan was with me, and I was thinking, son, one day you're going to be captain of a team. And so we my parents had gone abroad, and my father's, we webcammed them, and my father said that Hasnain, your son, looks a bit floppy. And I said, Dad, come on, he's only 3-4 months, give him a break, he's like still developing.
I remember when Rehan was born and he was growing up, Hasnain was asking me each month, how is the baby supposed to develop? Should he be crawling now? Should he be sitting now? Because although they weren't concerned at that stage, they maybe a bit wary that the child was a bit slow, maybe.
He said, yeah, but something, he goes, look, just for my sake, can you just go and local checkup? And I ignored it at times. Then I thought, what, it's my father, he's abroad. Just, he's going to be in the webcam again. He's going to ask you, you're going to feel stupid. Just go and get it checked out. And I went to my local clinic, and they checked his motor skills, and they said, we need to get this checked up a little bit more. I said, what does that mean? They weren't sure. I was working at the bank, so I went straight through Bupa, and I got an appointment with a professor in Holly Street. We went there, me and my wife, with Rehan, and he observed him, and then he sat down, and for a while he didn't say nothing, he's writing. And I was getting a little bit impatient. I said, Professor, can you tell me what's going on? And he goes, yeah, just give me a moment, let me just write this. And I was thinking, okay, everyone's got their own style. And he said, your son has this thing called SMA, spinal muscular atrophy. And he goes, there's 3 types. Type 1 is the most severe, and type 3 is livable. When he said livable, I thought, okay, this is no average thing. This is life or death. I said, what do you mean livable, Professor? He said, well, he'll be in a wheelchair for the rest of his life, probably have to be fed. I said, what are you saying? He goes, he has completely no muscle functions, and in the most severe, he can pass away within 2 to 3 years. And the best case scenario, they live up to about 20, 21 years, but in very difficult circumstances.
And then when he said that life expectancy is not more than a few years, and I thought, okay, how does someone cope with that? It's very difficult, and everyone deals differently with things like that. So either you try and carry on, or you just go into your own shell and say, okay, it's your problem, not my problem. You were my friend, but I'm not dealing with this with you. But it's not something that we do as a community. We try and stick together. We try and help each other.
Believe you me, I was shaken inside. And I didn't even have the courage to look at my wife. My wife was looking at me like, what is he saying? And I didn't have the courage to tell her.
It's when we find out about his disease, it's very hard to believe. But I just left in God's hand. Whatever he does best for us. Sorry.
And she kept on saying, Hasnain, what is he saying? And I said, Nosheen, just give me 2 minutes. So I said to the professor, what type is my son? He goes, he's probably a type 2 at the moment. Maximum 6-7 years. The minute he said that, I just went into this mode that I have to make Rehan's 6-7 years of life as comfortable and as peaceful as I can. Instantly.
it's very hard to explain. I just completely shattered because they told us he couldn't even walk, he couldn't even sit. So no matter how long he live, we just need to try to keep comfortable as much you can.
A few weeks later, a clinic in Walthamstow, we went to develop a special seat for Rehan. And out of nowhere, Rehan's eyes had gone up while he's in the seat, and he stopped breathing. Then we picked him up, and he was sort of like hair but not hair, and the ambulance came. And what had happened is he had aspirated milk into his lungs. Because he had such weakness that after being fed and sat on the seat, the milk just went into his lungs. And all I could think about is sitting in an ambulance, going to Great Ormond Street Hospital, is my son's suffering has begun. We got to Great Ormond Street Hospital and he went straight to ICU. And they wouldn't allow us in there. And I kept on being updated, and they said he's a fighter. Eventually he came through, and when we went to see him, all we could see was he was strapped practically from here, all tape, and he had a tube that had gone inside, and he had marks everywhere, needles. And so we stayed over for a few nights. He had taken so much physical force on his body, and him not being very strong, that somehow he fought through the intensive care and survived. They said there was no chance he's going to make it, but he made it. But it had an impact on his body, and he went from a type 2 to a type 1, which meant from an age impact, he's gone from maybe living to 6 to 7 years to suddenly maybe living 1 to 2 years within that one incident. And we were told the last few months that Mr. Syed, there's nothing more we can do. It could be any moment. You should go back to the best of his surroundings, which is his house. He recognized that to be the most comfortable and at ease, and enjoy your time.
I just enjoy every minute with him, because I know he's not gonna stay longer with us. So I just try to stay with him all the time, and just as much I can spend time with him. Basically, this room is like a hospital, so they just offer me to, if somebody from the hospital can help you. But I said no, I'm not comfortable to leave my son with somebody else. So basically I just do everything. I give him injections, I give him feeding, medicines. It's look like I become a nurse.
We had some wonderful moments with Rehan. Beautiful boy. And he one night peacefully passed away in our bed, and was no longer with us. So this is my bedroom, and Rehan had spent a lot of time here. We basically had oxygen cylinders and SATS machine, and because of his illness they were attracted to certain type of light, and they said to us that in his few months left that the best place for him is in his house, and enjoy your time with him. And
When I lost my son, I just completely shattered. I don't know what to. It looked like I just lost my part of body. I never blame anyone or never blame and never did any question of God. Why did you do this for me? I know He put people in test.
it was by far just the most difficult period of my life, because naturally nobody wants to see their loved ones suffering, and at times I felt that, God, please allow him to be out of this pain, because it was unbearable, and there was nothing we could do. But Rehan, he used to like watching Finding Nemo, the cartoon, and we got a TV put in here, and I remember I'd be sitting there, and practically, because he was so floppy, he would just tilt his neck towards my arm and love the fish Nemo, and you could see the smile and the joy in his face. And it was those few moments where I would capture, because most of the time it was suffering and very hard to deal with. A lot of difficult times were in this room with him, and his last breaths were here.
I remember waking up and I was on the I was in the loft, and my mother or my sister shouted out, "Rehan's not breathing."
I didn't know what was going on. All I knew is that I had to bury my son.
We went and visited, without telling anybody, we went and visited 2 graveyards. And eventually we got to the second graveyard, and it felt so peaceful, so surreal. And as soon as we drove in, I think he looked at me, I looked at him, and he just went, "This is where I think he'll be at peace."
I remember when we were taking the body to the cemetery. The body was behind me, and I was too scared to look back. And my father and the driver were in the car. And I secretly was crying. I didn't want my father to see, I didn't want the driver to see, I was crying. I don't know why I didn't want anyone to see it, but I thought it was a moment I wanted to myself. There were many other cars behind, but I just was alone, and it was a very scary time in my life. I felt very lonely, but I knew there was a lot of people that loved me and supported me, and they were there for me. Burying Rehan was very hard. I didn't want to come out of the grave. I kind of want to be buried with him. And it took me a few moments to get myself together and come out of the grave, but again, I felt very fortunate that God has given me the strength to see the bigger picture.
Burying Rehan, I just remember my brother being at the grave. I remember carrying the coffin, I remember laying it down, and I look up and my brother's literally climbing or walking into the grave. And then that's where I think for me reality hit, that my brother's about to bury his own son. I don't think I can ever get that image out of my head. Him holding his son. I can only relate to him now in my life of Allah blessing me the opportunity to have a child. Alhamdulillah, we all came very strong as a family, and we supported them as much as we could. But they just seemed so strong. I think the keynote was how strong your faith can be for you when you're in such troubles.
We were then cautious about trying for another child for a while. But then I felt that you should go into things with a leap of faith.
When we found out that my sister-in-law and brother were expecting another child, naturally, after losing our first child, it was hard to contain our emotion. We were jumping for joy.
Second time round, we went through the whole CVS screening like women do and did whatever we could to research, making sure.
They went for tests. Naturally, you would do. Your concerns of parents and uncles, aunties, mother, grandfather, grandmother. And the test they could only do was the test that Rehan, that one gene that he was, negative gene that he was born with, or the illness that he was born with, they could test them for that.
Now, CVS screening, as most of you know, doesn't pick up everything, but it picks up the main things. And they said that it's a healthy baby. And we were blessed with a beautiful daughter, Anika Zara. And again, I think all the emotions came out. There was the sense of happiness, and I was a little bit emotional because I could remember Rehan, but also very happy that we have a daughter.
So with Anika, when she came, Anika Zara Syed, when she came, it was joyful. To have a daughter in the house, amazing.
Everything was going fine. She was having a regular checks. It was okay. And then she caught this very high temperature. It wouldn't go down. And I didn't think anything of it then, until we went to our local hospital and they said, we don't know what this is.
Anika's scenario was very unique because Anika just had an infection. She got a flu. A child can get a flu at any time. But she just never recovered.
She was 2 months old when she has temperature, and we took her to hospital. They said it's a viral infection, and then 2-3 days she doesn't get better. Then they refer us to Great Ormond Street. They've done some tests, and then they find out she called is disease called HLH. Is quite rare, but they have the cure. You just need to transplant the bone marrow.
With Anika, it was a shock because with Iran they knew quite early on that he was unwell and it was a gradual deterioration. But Anika it was out of the blue.
And I thought, okay, Hasnain, you need to go back into autopilot. You've been here before. I don't know where this is going, but you need to go back into autopilot, and you need to just make sure that Anika is as comfortable as she possibly can be for however long this is going to last. After spending so much time with Rehan in hospitals, I started to understand how consultants work, and so I would really push them to get a definitive answer. And again, they didn't like me, but I didn't care. They said we will have to insert what's called a Hickman line. Hickman line usually is, rather than getting a cannula for every time you need to give blood, they do an operation on children where the tubes are constantly kept there. So then when they need to put chemotherapy, it just goes through there rather than doing a cannula every time. So they had to do a small operation. Some Anika had basically 3-4 sockets hanging out from a line of them stitched in her body. Just looking at that was unbearable. And while they were on a search for a match for a bone marrow, Nosheen, in the 3 months, stayed every day with Anika.
It's not easy experience, but you get a lot of support is because nobody want to go to hospital, but when somebody is very, very severe ill, then you don't have any choice. And but the nurses are brilliant. The whole staff, they cooperate very, very well. I stay with my daughter 2.5 months there.
My sister-in-law, she's amazing. I couldn't praise her enough. She's such a phenomenal woman. And she showed her strength at that time.
They started pumping a lot of chemotherapy in Anika. And it got to the stage I couldn't recognize my daughter. But there was hope because they said that they have found a match.
They find the donor, but unfortunately she has a really bad chest infection. And they said with infection they can't transplant the bone marrow, so we have to wait to clear this infection.
And it was great until one evening they took her into our ICU and they called us up and said, you need to come down. We were staying over. Great Ormond Street Hospital have amazing facilities for people who've got to be there for long periods of time. So next to the hospital they've got, it's like a hotel, and they provide for the parents. And I went over and the first thing I saw was similar to Rehan. She was on an oscillator and the machine was giving her oxygen. And I said, what's this? They said we've not been able to control the virus and it's become a harsh infection. And I said, what am I dealing with? They said, we're not sure yet. I sat there hours looking at Anika and this machine thinking, Anika, are you actually breathing or is the machine making you breathe? I don't know. My wife was destroyed. Early hours, 8, 9 o'clock in the morning. They said, Mr. Syed, if there's anybody you would like to invite, attend and see your daughter, this may be the best time. I didn't even look at Nosheen. I couldn't bear to look at my wife, just to know what she's thinking. I made sure she was sitting down. I gave her a glass of water. And I said, I'm going to phone home. I rang Yasser, my brother, and I said, can you get Dad? And can you make your way to the hospital?
And I remember till this day we were all in the room. My sister-in-law was holding her and she passed away.
The first thing I noticed was, after a while, the colour complexion of Anika had gone from a pale brown to ghost white. So I actually witnessed my daughter dying. That to me was harder than Rehan because Rehan had passed away in his sleep. At least I didn't have to see that. I woke up and Rehan had passed away. To see your child actually die, I don't think anything can be harder than that.
Believe me, it was extremely difficult. Sometimes when I'm lying down, at night time I start crying. It was lovely children.
So it was round 2 with organising a funeral.
Again, I, at that time, inside was broken, distraught, and felt I wanted to dig a hole and just disappear. But I had a duty as a father to bury my child. And before my comfort or peace, I need to make sure that my second child will be at peace.
It was the same scenario, him laying her down. And then it came to a point of, Rehan is buried there, Anika's a few steps down.
When I went to bury Anika, it was a routine in retrospect because of the fact that I'd done it already. So it wasn't the fact that it was any easier, but I had been there. And I remember speaking to Anika as I buried her, said, your brother is here to protect you. I often think that if my children were alive today, what would they expect from a father, a proud father? And that would be to continue to help those that are less fortunate than us and appreciate the time that you have. Running for me was like having both my children on my shoulders. I didn't feel at any stage that they are physically gone. And even though I've buried them, I know that I will be with them again. I don't think there's anything in this world that can be harder than to bury one of your loved ones. When I buried my son Rehan Abbas, I then knew there and then that every second that you have in this world, you have to make a difference. Every breath you take, it could possibly be your last breath. So I realized that my life is too short, and I really have to make a huge difference in every opportunity that I can get. The Great Ormond Street Hospital is renowned on a global aspect to be the best children's hospital in the world. I was in a ward where there was me as a Muslim, there was a Jewish guy, there was a Christian, and there was a Hindu guy, all within one ward, and all of our children are sick. And it kind of just brought home together that no matter where you're from, what religion, you're all in this together. And so I felt that the least I could do is start to give back, and I found out that they have opportunities within the marathon. I've done 3 marathons now, and I must admit it's always a great sense of satisfaction when you are rewarded with some kind of certificate or medal. And I can't believe I'm holding these right now in my hand, because I only thought I'd only do 1, and you know, I've got 3 in my hand. Having these are a great sense of memory that I did it, and I did it for my kids, I did it for Great Ormond Street Hospital, I did it for sick children. And I suppose it's a nice reminder to actually put these around your neck sometimes and say that you did it. Now that I've got 3, it gives me great motivation to go and get my 4th one. It gives me a great drive, and I hope I can continue to increase my collection. With just you know, a few months left, I feel adrenaline's kicking in, it's all happening again, and inshallah, as long as I have my health, then hopefully I will be ready to beat my time. Running is like my journey. There are times when you're running and you feel good, and then after a few minutes you're starting to struggle again. That's no difference to your life. Some days you wake up thinking, Alhamdulillah, you know, I'm blessed. Other days you wake up and you think, oh, it's not so easy. But what do you do in those times? So when I run and I'm struggling, I go back to the basics. I will slow down. So in life, you should slow your pace down a bit. I would go back to the basics. So in life, you go back to the basics. And most importantly, I breathe. And again, in life, we should slow down and breathe. So it's funny how running is just a technique that you use when you are not doing so well. You go back to your basics. But actually, for me, it reflects more than just running. It's how we should be in our life. And so knowing that, and knowing that my son and my daughter never had the opportunity to live that long, and I am still here, you know, God will say to me, how have you made a difference? Not just for yourself, but for others. And so the motivation, the discipline, the conditioning, the running, the pain, to me, it's still nothing, because I'm still here, healthy and alive. There were many times in my life where I suppose I wasn't questioning God, I was questioning myself. That people are tested in different ways, and is this some form of test for me? Now, to accept that test was the hard bit. It wasn't so much the fact that the test was there, because I believed in God and I believed in having faith. And during my times of Muharram and going to listen to the Mulanas and the stories of our Imams, I knew that the most perfect of individuals were tested, so who are we? And I always had that understanding. But to be tested through the loss of your children was something that took me a little while to understand. But I was very fortunate to have a combination. I always say that there are 3 F's that make you survive. There is your friends, there is your family, and there is your faith. And those 3 combined are which ultimately are going to help you continue your journey. But the friends and the family mean nothing compared to having faith, because faith is for you. And today I stand here under God's roof, and I can tell you that God has been amazing to me, and through my patience I have been rewarded in many ways. So faith for me is ultimately the survival and the purpose of your existence, to evolve and grow and understand the importance of why we are here. I would say most of our Imams, and the reason why we are here today is because during their pain and tyranny and sacrifice, literally to their family, when I used to remember that they gave up their family for the purpose of our religion to be existing, then me losing my children cannot be compared to that. Many people said to me, Hasnain, your children on the day of judgment, they will request to open the gateway of heaven for their parents to be with them. Now, when you first lose your children, as much as it's true, it wasn't going in. But this is why they say in our religion that sabr, patience, is key to a lot of things in your life. Because through having sabr now, I truly understand and acknowledge, and inshallah, God willing, cannot wait to be with my children.
Since their children died, it completely changed. And I think maybe God give him some extra strength to motivate himself to the community, and also with the children.
He totally changed his life, so he's more closer to Deen, he's more closer to Allah, and he every single time he just trying to help other people. So he just all the time he share his story to other people so he can help them to be a better person.
For him, obviously, losing these two children, he started reflecting upon his own life. He had an opportunity with where he worked. For the bank, he went out to Dubai. And I think that was it then, where he saw two different worlds. He saw one world where he saw struggle, losing two children, getting close to his faith. Then he saw this other world which was giving him materialistic happiness.
It was a time for me to sort of reflect on what was going on, and also after what I'd been through. Am I working for the right reasons? A blessing in disguise is I lost my job in the Middle East. I got back to London, and the first initial sort of realization was that I'm out of work, and my ex-boss in London at HSBC was very keen to get me back. But also at that time, one of my cousins, Hasnain Syed, he became very ill. Even though at that time there was no stage or sign of the fact that he is going to pass away, I ended up spending a lot of time with him. Actually, it was pretty much every day. Me and my brother would go down there, and it really opened my eyes to a lot of things. I remember one of his colleagues from work came. He used to work at Citibank, and he came to see Adnan, and he was an American guy, and he said that, "Oh, Adnan, you know, you've got the flashiest cars, and you live in a really nice pad in central London, and you've got really nice watches." And Adnan turned around and he said, "Can you get me out of this bed and make me walk right now?" And that really hit home with me about, again, health, and how without health, it doesn't matter what else you have in your life. And he also was running a intervention program in underprivileged schools to improve students' grades who are on a failing grade, and trying to improve them to a passing grade. And he called it 1 degree.
The name 1 degree centers around the notion that you can make small changes today. Tomorrow they're going to lead to a big impact in your life. I was part of a mentoring program where we used to go into schools and talk to children about jobs and careers and aspirations, and there was about 3 weeks left to their exams. I said, "How's the revision going, guys?" And there was almost like a deadly silence, a few nervous giggles. They hadn't started revising. I just realised that we were doing wrong by these boys. I was giving them the hopes and aspirations of, you know, fantastic careers in the city. I realised that I wasn't giving them the tools to get there, and nor was the environment that they were in. So we decided to open up rooms in the school and get volunteers in to help these boys actually go and revise. And that's where the idea was born, and that's where 1 degree began.
And so after he had passed away, he kind of left it in my hands, and I was a little bit skeptical because all I've ever done is work in banking, and I wasn't sure, you know, I can get on with kids, let alone adults. And I kind of got involved, heavy-hearted and heavily involved right from the beginning. And you know, alhamdulillah, the kids took to me in a big way.
My name's Abiyomi Sampson, and I'm the lead ambassador at 1 degree.
My full name is Parvez Sadari.
I'm Mr. Mustafa.
My name is Sadaf.
It was out of the blue. I got approached by a teacher saying that you've got an interview for 1 degree, like if you want to do it. And then I was like, what's 1 degree kind of stuff. And then I went into the interview, and there was 3 other people interviewing, and one was Cos himself. And Cos, I got to interview like a one-on-one with him at this beginning, and then he was just like, we just got along with each other from the beginning.
I can speak from my point of view. I was part of the programme about 5 years ago now. And what it is that it gave me a different view, because I didn't really come from a rich background. I'm from a single parent background, just my mum and my 4 siblings.
Like probably because I had other distractions that was going on at the same time, and then Cos just appeared with 1 degree at the right time for me.
At the start, when we all went, none of us wanted to be there. None of us, especially when Cos gave us the first speech, we were like, what are we doing here? But afterwards, it's the friends that you make, and you gain so much from it. It's no longer just English and maths. It's more how motivated you feel. Literally, we went from coming late the first week to the second week, we were running to 1 degree because we didn't want to, not breakfast, we had breakfast. We didn't want to miss breakfast, but also the speech. Every morning, Cos would give us a speech or a story or a video, and we didn't want to miss that because that was what set the day for us. It was what laid out, the rest of the day. And even sports, we had sports which helped us bond with everyone. And it's just the way Cos would greet us every morning. Like, the teachers at our school was like, oh, hi Sadaf, come sit down. Whereas Cos would be like, how are you? How's your family? And just a smile, him smiling makes you smile, which is just, it's a good experience.
What it is that the founder of 1 Degree who has passed away, me and him was really, really close, and we did get to know each other on a down basis. And he was like a male figure for me because my dad wasn't around and stuff like that. So
Adnan and Cos both, I think, are very, very important people in my life and the relationship I've had with them and still have. They're very inspirational people. They've shown me that life is bigger than just me and me doing for myself. They've shown me it's a lot bigger world. There's the relationship where you give and get back. And as people, I've connected so well with them. They're very inspirational, very motivational. They've had their own hardships, and they're very open to sharing their own experiences.
When he told us the story about his kids, it came to us as such a surprise. Because when you look at him, you don't see someone that's suffered or gone through so much. You see a happy person. When he told us that, we thought, wow, and we're complaining about not having, the latest shoes, not having the latest handbag.
with 1 Degree, they teach you stuff that you wouldn't really learn at school. Because a teacher wouldn't sit at their own way to help you address yourself, how to speak to people.
1 Degree isn't just about learning, it's also about giving and taking. Because like, as Cos would always say, we're one big family in 1 Degree.
But I was fortunate enough to have mentors in my life who kind of told me there was a bigger world. And I recognized from an early stage that I did have the potential, but I needed help to help me get out of it, to help me do better in my education so I could progress with it.
With English, I was sort of confident, but with maths, I hated algebra. In school, if the teacher ever asked me a question, I would just shy out and I wouldn't answer it. But now, after 1 Degree finished, it's like I want to answer the question. I'm the first person to put my hand up, just because I would imagine Cos at the back saying, yes, Sadaf, answer the question. So it's the confidence of answering, of knowing that your mentor's there to help you. It's not just you sacrificing your time.
And with Cos, it's just been an ongoing relationship, and he's always been there. He's just supportive in every sense. So I feel I have a very strong relationship with him. So in that sense, I think I see them as a big part of my life.
Get ready. Changes your life. Yeah.
Oh, do you remember how we met?
Yeah, no, I remember how we met.
You do, right?
Yeah. It was that first phone call.
It was the first phone call?
Yeah.
Well, when did we actually get to know each other though?
Well, it's obviously through Adnan, right?
Yeah, but we never really spoke when he was around.
No, I know, but I heard a lot about you. Yeah. What have you heard about me? Since you've got to know me, what do you think about me?
I think cool guy. Very, very relaxed and humble. You just let people be themselves, I think, which is a good thing, because then people are growing up to be themselves, not what society wants them to be. Or you actually help me in particular. Like with me, it's the leadership is you've let me take control of my own life, or you helped me to take control of my own life. And with the decisions I've made and every mistake I've made, I've come running to you. I actually have. I've come running to you.
Times that by 100. Yeah.
But it's because I knew the support was there. It's because I knew whatever advice you give me, it's not going to be to change me, and it's not going to be to kick me in the backside, but it's going to be because it's what's right, and it's what needs to be for me to grow. And having a bad experience doesn't mean it's the end of the world, but it's to have that on my back and say, I've been there, done that, and let's move on to the next one.
The charity work that he done, and the work that he's done with 1 Degree and the children, I think they were almost like a substitute for him, where he felt that, I don't know if I'm ever going to have kids or not, but you know, he loves kids, you know, he wants to help them, and I think with the 1 Degree program, which his cousin Adnan set up, it was a good opportunity for him to help children, and you know, feel that he is doing something. And as mentioned, you know, maybe he felt that they were his children, and he's mentioned that before. He said, I feel like they're my kids.
I felt that I started to feel more towards this new course of life, working with kids and wanting to make a difference and feel a lot more fulfilled than to maybe go into banking. And that's pretty much how my story started working with kids began. Your time is limited, right? Your time is restricted. So what are you going to do? Waste it on people that clearly don't care about themselves, or you, really, and come running because Parvez is the man, and just do what you got to do, bro. You know, do it for you and you only.
He does so much with let alone 1 Degree. Now he's moved on to working with very, very unprivileged and deprived children that society's given up on.
My name is Ewan MacDonald. I run a team of about between 15 and 20 members of staff, and we work with kids, generally off-site, one-to-one, try and build their confidence, maybe levels in maths and English, and then try and integrate them back into our school or maybe another school. Hopewell School, we work with children. It started in a children's home, so it was a very, very small school initially with maybe about 3 or 4 children who were in a children's home, and the school started as part of that. And it's grown from there. The idea of Hopewell is kind of releasing potential and building hope in children.
So I met Ewan through a mentor who was on the 1 Degree program and suggested that I would be a great asset to his team and I should go and meet him. So I went along and we got on very well, very laid back, easygoing, and a transparent individual who seems to know how to bring the best out of other people. And so I started working with Ewan's team, who do one-to-one intervention for SEBD kids, so that's social, emotional, behavioural difficult kids, and come from all walks of life. And I've been with him since then and really enjoy working for this guy, and look forward to working many more years with him.
It's funny, when I met him, he didn't have much experience. He was one of those who ticked the box of lack of experience, in a way, with education, although he'd worked through his charity, through the 1 Degree. And I met him through another member of staff, Sarah, who worked with us. She was they're friends outside of work. And she said, oh, I've got someone that I think you should meet. And he came into the old school I used to work at, and I had a chat with him, and he seemed pretty grounded. I wondered what on earth he wanted to do. He wanted to not work in a bank and come and work in a school. I said that was ridiculous. How dare you? It would be really easy for Cause to walk around with a long face and his head held down and just kind of feeling the weight of the world on his shoulders. But he is enthusiastic. He's warm. He's welcoming. It's very inspiring for me. It's very inspiring, I think, for the team that Cause is a part of. He's quite instrumental. Our team meetings can get a little rowdy. Cause kind of plays it down, but he's got a very dry sense of humour. He's got just a quiet way. He doesn't. It's not brash. It's not, oh, look what I'm doing. But you'll find out he just gets things done, and I think that's part of his charm is the fact that he's alive to it, and he hasn't let what's happened in the past drag him down. And in fact, he's used it as almost like a platform to really embrace life fully. And I think that's clear when you meet him.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people generally have heard of Great Ormond Street Hospital because it's renowned to be the best hospital for kids. But it's not until you actually have some experience to know what they're exactly doing inside. It all started obviously with the illness of Rehan. He instantly came here into ICU, and the first thing you notice is the amount of care and attention they give. Me and my wife was put in practically like a hotel which is covered by the hospital, and it's those little things they do during the most intense time of your life which make you realize how special this hospital is. And being able to have access to your kids 24 hours of the day, knowing that the nurse is there 24/7, and knowing that even though these nurses are not the parents of the children, but they treat them as important as parents would. So that was the beginning, I suppose, for me to be able to realise the special place that Great Ormond Street Hospital is. Over the two children, I think we had spent nearly 3, 4, maybe 5 months. With Rehan, he was in ICU and he somehow survived, and he was here for about 2-3 weeks. With Anika, she was here a lot longer. Yeah, always coming back to Great Ormond Street Hospital, even as you see the sign or the logo, you do get flashbacks of what you have been through, and naturally you start to think about your children again. It's times like this you realise that it was very intense and very hard, not so much for the fact that you're going through it, but when you're seeing your children suffering and you wish you could take that suffering away and put it upon yourself like every parent would. It just reassures me the work that I'm doing for the hospital is hopefully helping someone else, his child. Great Ormond Street Hospital requires £20 million a year just to keep up to trend with the latest machinery, and obviously there's a lot more kids and there's play groups and more rooms and for parents that have to stay over. So what's remarkable with Great Ormond Street Hospital is the fact that how 80% is run on charity and 20% is private funding, and yet they continue to receive many funds. Now I'm raising no more than £5,000-6,000, which is nothing on the big scale, but if you also times that by 1,000 people, that's a lot of money coming in. And that's where I think you feel reassured that your work, your effort is not being wasted. There were people in my kids' lives who were there till the end and tried to keep them going. The least I can do is through a little bit of my small effort is to try and give back, not knowing if that other child, someone else's son or daughter, is going to make it or not, but at least through my efforts it can make them have a little bit more peace and comfort, like how my children had to their last breath. So here we are again, my fourth. Can't believe it. Thought I'll just do one and I can't stop now. I'm been joined by Waqar every year, who continues to tag along with me. I try to get rid of him, but he just comes back for more like me. Started off as a charity thing that I'll do to donate money for Great Ormond Street Hospital after the loss of Rehan and Anika, my son and daughter. And I've never stopped since then, and the year's flown by again. We're here in Greenwich Park, beautiful day. Not good for the runners, great for the fans. But yeah, alhamdulillah, I feel grateful that I've got my health, and we can never stop giving back. And what started as a one-off event has now become a regular thing. Adrenaline's kicking. I can't wait. I just hope I get to the other side, and just going to enjoy the moment. And inshallah, let's see how it goes. Like with anything, there is preparation, conditioning. I've run nearly 235 miles since November, averaging around 8 miles every time I go out. So practice makes perfect, and the more you run, the more you start to believe that this is possible. There's no such word as impossible in my eyes. There's people twice my age running, so I have no excuse, and I feel that I've prepared as much as I can. You can always do more, but I'm feeling quite confident. For me, it's always the main motivational factors for what I started for. So it's knowing that there's many sick children out there, knowing that my children were also suffering and being looked after, knowing the unknown because I had to be in that situation, and being grateful. So the 4 or 5 hours of running, no music for me, it's about appreciation, about the fact that I'm breathing, nature, gratefulness, and knowing that my little bit of effort that I'm doing can help some children to live a little bit longer and breathe a little bit better. Standing in the crowd, I look around and there's thousands of people around me and everyone's on edge. Adrenaline's kicking in like from the time I got up in the morning, but now it's pumping at 100 times faster. Some people seem to just want to stay quiet, others are just skipping away. I'm just looking around, not sure if I should skip or if I should just go into my own zone. Here I am again, my 4th marathon, thinking, why am I doing this? And then the gunfire goes and people start to slowly jog. And I start to say, this is another battle which I have to complete. The first 4 or 5 miles, it's all about getting into the zone, getting your body into a certain momentum and remembering every second while you're doing it. On the way, I think about all those other people that are running. Some have pictures of their kids, some have their parents, some have their grandparents, and it reminds me of the picture that's constantly in my heart of my beautiful children and how that they, even though physically are gone, but they're here with me in spirit. Rihan on my right shoulder, Nika on my left shoulder. And I know that as I'm struggling in this race that they are there to support me, pulling me up, making sure that my posture's right. And then you go into the 15-20 mile barrier and then you kind of think that I'm about to hit the wall and can I do it? And even though you've prepared yourself and you've run hundreds of miles to condition yourself for the run, but here you are again at 20 miles hitting the wall and thinking, am I going to get to the finishing line? But again, I'm thinking about my children, the reason why I got involved, and I can feel the strength of Rihan and Nika supporting me. And I think that if they are supporting me, I have nothing to lose. And I start to feel slight twists and pain in my knees and my hamstring, and I get to the last 3 or 4 miles and I think just stop because you can't do it. And I'm like, no, you've come this far, it's impossible, you can't stop because you know you'd be failing. You have to finish this, you have to finish on a strong note for yourself, for the fact that you know you raise good money for a good cause, and you know your kids will be proud, they'll be smiling down at you. And I think about Adnan as well, and how that, you know, I wear this Live Strong banner thing on my wrist just to keep him going, because when he was sick, I bought him one and he kept it till the day he passed away. So it's not just for my kids, it's for Adnan, it's for all these other sick children that don't know me. And when I get to the finish line, I'm so elated, I can't even stand for 2 seconds longer, but I say Alhamdulillah, and I feel grateful to God that He has allowed me to survive and complete another race and do it for the bigger picture. Alhamdulillah, firstly, by the grace of God, I have completed the marathon. You often see many people fall down, faint, don't complete it, so Alhamdulillah, that's the main thing. Regarding my experience, definitely as my 4th marathon, it was the hardest. And that's not an excuse, only because as you can see, it's a very hot day, it's about 17 degrees. So what I realized early was that because of my experience was just to pace myself a little bit slower. And I just beat my personal best time by 1 minute. So I feel there's a great achievement. But more importantly, for me, the marathon, like anything, this is nice, but it's the journey to the destination is what matters. And for me, knowing that through a little bit of my effort, I can raise some money for sick children, then I would do it another 100 times, inshallah.
He's mashallah, what, 40 now? He's in 4 marathons and he doesn't want to stop. I don't know how that's not inspiring me, but hey, he's trying to drag me into a marathon as well. We'll see.
That's what I love about Cos, is like his vibe, everything about him and how he inspires you to live life and move on.
I call Cos the Pakistani Iron Man because I think he is the Pakistani Iron Man basically. He's just tough, he's so tough and he doesn't show what he's been through. He's actually the biggest inspiration ever.
Cos is a very inspirational person, great human being, someone I'm inspired by daily.
I'm very lucky and proud about my son. Thanks Almighty God.
I am very proud of him. He's a part of my life.
He hasn't let his misfortune define him. And in fact, he's transcended the fact. I mean, he's running marathons. That's amazing. Again and again. Once I can get for the experience, but again and again, and raising money. I think it's just to show that he is willing to go, quite literally, the extra mile.
And it's inspiring. That's the right word to use. It's inspiring. It's phenomenal to be so fortunate to have a brother like mine.
And this may sound bizarre, but for me, actually, when I do for others, I feel I'm doing for myself. And maybe you understand that or maybe you don't. But I suppose what I'm trying to say is that the true satisfaction of my life is when I actually don't do anything for me. But by doing it for others, I'm completely satisfied. Bro, it's a girl, alhamdulillah. Assalamu alaikum. Yeah, alhamdulillah, yeah. Baby daughter. Unbelievable, bro. God is great. Thank you. Listen, I'm gonna have to call you back. I'm getting inundated with calls. Take care, bro. Assalamu alaikum.
What does it mean?
I'm lost for words. It's after 8 years to be blessed with another opportunity. I often got told that if God truly loves you, He will test you. I knew that there would have to be some truth in that. And sitting here today, I know that it's completely true, because if I hadn't have gone through my difficult times, and if I hadn't have had faith, I wouldn't be here today. I wouldn't have done any marathons. I often say you have to have patience and persistence. After 2 losses, 8 years, we have been blessed with a beautiful daughter. So in my heart, in my soul, it just strengthens my belief in who I am and what I stand for.